I'm Batman, or at least I'm hoping to be Batman by the end of today's Minecraft redstone video. You see, if we quickly hop on over to the Hermitcraft server, which is a server that I play on with all of my friends, I have constructed a rather large waterfall. All of this was done in survival mode. I'm currently in my spectator mode camera account. This is the account that I use for filming all of my time lapses and things, but I thought I'd use this just to make the scale of it a little bit more obvious. I mean, look, there is Grian. That's a Grian for scale. And he's covered in arrows. He seems like he's had a really rough time. So long story short, this thing is big. In fact, it's 140 blocks from top to bottom. And the redstone person inside of me really wants to make an entrance out of this thing. So let's pop back over to the redstone world. This right here is a little model of the bottom section of the waterfall. And I think this is how big I want the door to be. Just because if I make it any bigger, it's going to take about 19 days to open. And that will be explained by going into my other redstone world. You see, the thing with waterfall splitter doors is that water is really weird. So you can see the opening is actually pretty easy. You know, all you have to do is push a block out and then the water will split around it. And there we go. We've got ourselves a waterfall splitter. The difficulty comes with the closing because water just takes so long to go away. And this design also slightly isn't working, as you just saw there. To be fair, I'm surprised it worked as well as it did, because this is probably around about 7 or 8 years old. But yeah, to cut a long story short, the speed of water really is our limiting factor when it comes to the size of this thing. But I do think we would do pretty well if we make one this big. 4 blocks wide and around about 20 blocks tall. It's definitely far bigger than any waterfall splitter I've made in the past. First things first, the waterfall splitter mechanism. Now I can already think of many things that are going to go wrong with this waterfall split, but I'm hoping that I've thought of all of them ahead of time, so then I should be able to fix them when they come up. However, I will be very quick to admit when a problem comes up that I haven't thought of. You'll probably be able to tell from the noises that I'm making. With that being said, I have just come up with a slightly different design for the waterfall splitter that I think could make life easier, and if it works, it shouldn't have all of those problems. And it looks like a tiny mustache, which is a huge benefit in my books. This definitely is not my neatest redstone for a double piston extender, but it all seems to be functioning, so when I flick the lever, that is going to push out our waterfall splitter, or what I hope is going to be our waterfall splitter, and then this should retract it. And let's see if this makes a horrible H2O based mess. Okay, the water has flowed down. Now, just to make it very clear, I'm not expecting this to fully work and fully split the waterfall just yet. I am expecting a problem, but as long as I get the problem that I'm expecting, then I'll be happy. That is the problem that I was expecting, so I'm happy. Okay, that's good. It's not great. I wish it had split all the way down to the bottom, but that's the best problem that we could have gotten. Now, the thing that I'm super worried about is the pulling back, because what I think might happen is when the blocks get to this point, the water will flow over the top of them and just create a horrendous, ugly mess. That does appear to be what has happened. Okay, this is the problem that I partially expected, but also really didn't want. Let's go back to the drawing board just a tiny bit, and by that I mean destroy all of the redstone that we just did. We have upgraded from Mustache to Space Invader, and also our redstone has gotten considerably simpler thanks to slime blocks and honey blocks, and I'm hoping that this should be fast enough so that the water almost doesn't have time to react. It doesn't have time to think about going over the edge and making a huge mess. It will just drop down into a regular waterfall. Now, of course, that is what I want, but I have to keep in mind that water is absolutely and unexplainably stupid. And that looks a little bit pants as well, doesn't it? Okay, I'll work out a different immovable object in a little bit. First, let's see if this thing actually functions as expected. So there is the push out, and that is behaving well. Everything seems to be looking pretty good there. Now this is the bit that is scary. It didn't make a mess. It didn't make a mess. That has caught me off guard. I was not expecting that to work. But that has not made a mess, and that is huge. That is hugely exciting. Oh, fantastic! Water, I can in fact confirm that you are unstupid. Congratulations. Now, I've made a few minor adjustments to the redstone just to make the next stage a little bit simpler. It involves these blocks right here. But the next stage is, of course, opening up the door itself, creating the opening that I am then going to travel through to get into my base. But the issue that we have to deal with is the one that I expected, but was also slightly disappointed by, which is the fact that the water kind of gets split up by this thing, but then it reconnects directly underneath it, meaning that we're not actually splitting a waterfall at all. We're just kind of pushing a block through it and the waterfall is pretty undisturbed. So to get rid of all of the water in the center, I propose that we first push out the door. So it gets pushed out like this, then it gets retracted back to its original position, hopefully having cleared all of the water, and then it slides to open. Which is, yeah, it should be easy. I think it should be easy. It just seems complicated at this point in time. Now obviously to make all of this function, I am going to be using slime blocks and honey blocks. So this double piston extender here is going to be the slider for our piston door. That's going to be sliding the blocks out of the way. And then these pistons right here, hopefully, should be doing the block pushing and pulling to get rid of our water. And it doesn't matter how long observers have been in the game, I still always find these double piston extenders to be quite baffling. And just look how cool that is. Look how cool that is. I think I've actually got a functioning module here. So if I hit this button, you can see we get the push out. And then we get the pull back. And then on this one, we just get the closing. We don't need the push out and pull out because this is when the water is going to be dropping back down. Now you may notice we do have some blocks being grabbed here. And to be frankly honest, I'm just not going to think about those until I have to think about those. When has that ever gone wrong in the past? So the only thing about connecting all of these things together is that they need to all activate at exactly the same time. If they don't activate at exactly the same time, then they will all stick to one another and everything will break and tears will eject from my eyeballs like super soakers. I have to say though, as far as redstone goes, this is a pretty cool looking redstone contraption. This is only one half. Anyway, let's quickly make sure that this is in fact doing what I want it to. So we should see... That looked really good. I just forgot about the fact that, of course, if you've only got one half, it will attach to the other half. But amazingly, that didn't actually seem to have broken it, which is good to see. Why is this the only one that has done that? I mean, I should have seen that coming, to be fair, but still, it's weird that it's only one. I absolutely love quasi-connectivity, but I also can occasionally absolutely hate quasi-connectivity. You know? Anyway, now let's test the closing. That should all be working absolutely fine. And it is all working absolutely fine. I mean, this is satisfying. This is going to look so cool when that's like erasing a waterfall. That's going to look nuts. Do you know how it feels to find out that you've just constructed the other half of the redstone one block too far over to the right? Do you know how it feels? It feels a little bit like this. Now that I've got that sorted, let's give this thing its first dry run. So currently it's closed, and what we want to see is a full push out and then a full open, and that looks insane. That looks completely insane. That is fantastic. And then the closing should be the easy bit, and it all seems to be working. Nothing seems to be breaking. Everything seems to be doing what it's supposed to be doing, which is very surprising, given that's the first time it's been run. Now let's give it another dry run, this time taking into account this top section. So that has just been pushed out, and then this would fire, so this is what it would be like, and then I guess on the closing, this would all retract, and then this would fire back across. Nice, and we have got ourselves a flat wall. None of those stone blocks have broken or gotten stuck. Time to stop with the dry runs and do a wet one. You know, because we're dealing with water here. This is the only time that I've literally been able to use the term dry run and it actually mean it's dry compared to a wet run. This is like, this doesn't happen very often. Let me bathe in it. Believe me when I say that pun was totally unintentional. I am so incredibly nervous because it's just dawned on me that if this doesn't work, not only is this video totally pointless and I can't upload it, but also kind of need to think of a whole new plan for my Hermitcraft base because I will no longer be able to enter through the waterfall. Okay, well, I guess it's safe to say that the stakes are high. I feel sick. I feel sick. Here goes. Here goes. Here goes. Please work. Oh. Oh, it works! It works and it looks so good! Please, continue to work. Huh? Right, okay, now here comes the big test. Has anything been messed up on the waterfront that stops it from working the second time? It doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like it. It looks like it actually works. And it's so good and it's so fast. This is the thing. This is what I wanted to do. I wanted it to be fast enough that it's not going to hinder me. And it so doesn't hinder me. Like, that's the same speed as a regular piston door. There's no extra delay waiting for the water to do its thing. This is so cool. This is so cool and so satisfying. Yeah, it's not doing anything weird. Nothing is changing. I was worried that maybe these bits down at the bottom would like grow or something, gradually expand up the door, and then eventually it would no longer work. But they look to be unchanging. They look to be unchanging, and this is so good. Part of this is like relief, laughter, and happiness, but honestly, this is like one of the coolest looking piston doors I've made in a really long time. Look at that. Look at that. Ah. Oh. What an entrance. Right? Well, I guess I know what I'm doing in the next Hermitcraft episode then. I've got a lot of resources to gather and a lot of redstone to do and also a lot of lighting up to do because there is no way I'm doing any redstone in the underside of the cave currently because it is a mob haven in there. But I'm just so chuffed to bits that this thing is actually functioning. I managed to make it work, and not only that, but it works in a way that is incredibly satisfying. It's just, yeah, really pleased with this. So pleased with this. So I hope you enjoyed this little redstone video. It's been a ton of fun to create, and I will see you in the next Hermitcraft episode. What an absolutely enormous success this has been. Oh, I cannot overstate. Seriously, before pressing that button, my heart was probably at about 170 beats per minute. Like, genuinely, I was terrified because, as I say, it dawned on me that if this doesn't work, I have no idea how I'm going to make it work, and I might have to come up with a completely different place to put my main base location.